Hey guys, Matt Donald here. Just let you know once again, as I always do, that I now, as in always, forever and always, have a Patreon. Yay! At patreon.com/Matthew Donald. There you'll find bonus content for both the Ritwit and Paleobites. For the Paleobites bonus content, we discuss pop culture featuring prehistoric animals, and this month we're talking about Camp Cretaceous, the Netflix hit show in the Jurassic World canon. The reason why I'm not saying Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous is I'm trying to hide the fact that we've covered so many different things in the Jurassic Park/World franchise. Look, guys, it's the one big dinosaur franchise out there. If you want there to be two big dinosaur franchises, buy my book, Megazoic, on Amazon.com. Anyways, link is in the description for where you can sign up to the Patreon. Thank you for your support and have a lovely day.
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast with a brain the size of a walnut. My name's Matthew Dahl, and each week I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week I'm joined by the ambassador of bad sci-fi movies everywhere, trying to, start relations with us with them so we could get to know these obscure piles of dreck. Natasha Krech, how are you?
Hi, Matt. I'm well.
Oh, that's good. Good to hear. The things you've subjugated me to. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh, good
What,
stuff.
you were watching Mel Brooks movies again?
Oh, Mel Brooks is great. I love Mel Brooks. Oh, Mel Brooks is great. Spaceballs, History of Part 1, Robin Hood Men in Tights, The Producers, Young Frankenstein.
Hotel Transylvania, he was involved with some of those?
Yes, he voiced some of those. He was also in Toy Story 4 in a brief cameo, which is kind of funny.
I saw that when I was looking up his movies the other night.
It was like, whoa, Mel Brooks in a Toy Story movie. Well, that's nice.
Whose idea was that to let him loose?
Well, it was like a group of part of a group of toys that are all puns off of various old-timey actors. So, like, Betty White was in there. Carl Reiner, may he rest in peace. And who is the other person? I forgot who the other person was. But she was another person, and I forgot she's another famous actor, old actor. I don't know. Anyways, so here's the question I'm going to ask you, the dinosaur-related question. So I've already asked you, because you like to go on like hikes and other adventures. I've already asked you if you could hike in a prehistoric landscape, what would it be? So I'm going to ask you this time, if you could go onto a modern hike, like anywhere now, but you could take a dinosaur or other prehistoric animal with you as a traveling guide, which one and why? And also, where would you go when you have this new dinosaur at hand, or other creature?
My first thought is going to be, because this one's actually on my bucket list, Colorado Trail.
Yes.
Gotta be a dinosaur that can handle some shifting weather.
Okay, like...
Probably an herbivore.
Yes. Shifting... And like, how steep is this trail? Like,
Well, it varies, actually.
Okay.
Because it goes Denver to Durango. It's a 500-mile trip.
Oh, yes, you've told me about this one. So
Totally on my bucket list to walk 500 miles across the state.
To walk 500 miles. Yeah, I made that joke before with you.
So I'm probably... I've seen how sturdy those Edmontosauruses are.
Yeah, I was going to say one of those, because they
Those
actually...
would be
We
pretty
have
steady.
evidence of them migrating a long ways during the winter, because some of them lived up in Alaska in the summer, and then once winter hit... Because Alaska was actually even further up north in the Cretaceous than it is now, and they would migrate down the side of Canada. So, yeah, Edmontosaurus would probably be a good one. If you got really tired, which you wouldn't because you're a machine, but if you got really tired, you could ride it.
Well, and any modern predator would think twice about something that size.
Yeah, 40-foot long, like duckbill thing. Got to figure out a way to feed it though, or give it enough water.
Well, if it was a migratory creature,
I guess it's true. It could fast. It would eat something big at the
there would
beginning and then
be
just
good.
fast.
I've walked sections of the Colorado Trail.
Yeah.
On the southwest end, there's rivers, there's lakes where you camp along.
Yeah. Get a drink. Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
You have to make sure whenever it poops, it does it in like some sort of garden, so you can provide some fertilizer. Well, I guess I could just do that out in the woods, anyways. And then
Yeah.
just get some good greenery there. So speaking of not walking, not woods, not dinosaurs, not anything we were talking about, we're talking about a giant fish. We're talking about Leedsichthys today. The fish of Leeds. Leeds is some guy. I should have Googled who that was. I remember this is actually the second time we recorded this episode, and I remember the first time we recorded this episode because I lost the episode. Long story. I was dumb. The first time I didn't know who Leeds. I didn't know who Leeds was, and I was like, I should have Googled that. And then I forgot, and then now the second time I forgot again. I still don't know who this Leeds fellow is. I could look it up right now in the middle of the recording, but I'm not going to because I want to maintain some semblance of professionalism.
Wait, we're professionals? I thought we were just a couple goofballs who liked prehistoric life.
I mean, we're all that. It's all the things. But no, we're talking about Leedsichthys, fish of Leeds. Leeds is some guy, some fish man. He's like Aquaman, that's what I'm saying. He's a fish guy. So Leedsichthys, its type, it's a pachycormid, an extinct group of Mesozoic ray-finned fish. Size 46 to 59 feet / 14 to 18 meters long. It was a filter-feeding carnivore, using an array of gill rakers lining its mouth to extract zooplankton from the water when passing through. Time, mid to late Jurassic, 165 to 152 million years ago. Location, England, France, Germany, and Chile. Quite a range.
Indeed, but
the ocean had everywhere to go.
If this was an open ocean creature...
Yeah. Could have been around the entire world, Like
realistically could have, but as we've talked about before, the process of fossilization...
It's quite rare.
And quite finicky.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of fossils underneath the ocean, like just sitting in the bottom of the ocean that we could never get to. Or we'll figure out a way. So, I don't know, we might figure out a way someday. Yeah, most of the time when you find fossils for ocean-dwelling creatures, it's when the layer of rock has been pushed onto land.
That's why you find shark's teeth on top of mountains.
Yes. That's, mountains. And sometimes you find places where it was underwater before, but it's not now. Like
Colorado.
Yeah, like Colorado, or
where we're recording from.
Or like you can find so many mosasaur fossils in like Kansas and Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that was all underwater before.
We were once a terrifying ocean.
Quite scary. The North American Inway Sea. I forget. There's a name for it. The one in the Cretaceous period that just split the continent in two. I forget what it is. I'm so professional. I should really do something about that. I really should learn. I'm trying to teach people in this dumb show, but I can't learn anything myself. I failed. I failed all of you. Anyways, it was described in 1889. See, I failed. I don't get the years right. The show's canceled, guys. No, it's gonna keep going. It's gonna go forever. Pop culture appearances. Chased by Sea Monsters, a show by the makers of Walking with Dinosaurs. It features a school of them when Nigel Marven traveled back to the Jurassic period for his 7 Deadliest Seas of All Time show. Did you ever see this? Did I ever show you this? Or...
I think I have.
Yeah, it was pretty cool when he traveled back in time to all these various places. And it didn't say how he traveled back in time. He just did, which was kind of cool. And, he didn't need to explain that. Just had a time-traveling boat with a crew on there, I think the Megalodon sea, though, was too low placed. It was number 3 on the 7 Deadly Seas. It should be like number 2 or number 1 because it, as well as Megalodon, also had Leviathan and a bunch of other predators. Yeah, Nigel Marven would not have survived that ocean.
Let's be honest. Would modern humans have survived any prehistoric ocean?
The Precambrian one, they probably would.
Yeah,
when there's just a bunch of single-celled organisms. I mean, they probably would die from lack of oxygen. I mean, if they didn't bring your own tank. But if you're scuba diving in there, you'd probably be okay.
Probably.
But other than that, I don't know. Even like the Cambrian Ocean, I don't know, because like you have Anomalocaris, and it could probably do some damage. Yeah, because it was meant to like crunch on the shells of trilobites, so it could probably crunch through your arm.
Probably.
If it wanted to. The good news is it's probably pretty slow though, so you could avoid it probably pretty easily.
The real question is, was it a pack hunter?
Probably not. What would it need to have pack hunted? The technical term of pack hunting.
That's always one of the questions that we can't always answer with paleontology, though. Was this predator, any predator, a pack hunter, or was it solo?
Yeah, like we have some ideas, but another time there's no way to really prove it. Even if you have a big fossil bed of a bunch of them all dying together, you could be like, oh, this could be over a period of time, you know.
Uh-huh. Maybe it was a lake bed with a sudden
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, maybe it was a predator trap where a bunch of different creatures all got trapped, and then which attracted more and more predators, you know.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, as well as as the Chase by Sea Monsters, they're also in Ark Survival Evolved and Jurassic World the game, like so many other things. That game, there's so much crap in it. So many different creatures. It's crazy. So not all enormous marine creatures of the Mesozoic era were reptiles. Even though this time of Earth's history is dominated by various groups of reptiles from one biome to the other, on the land, in the sky, and in the ocean, there were several other creatures vying for their chance for greatness amidst a sea of scales.
You know, though, you did miss one pop culture appearance, and it was one of my favorites.
Oh.
River Monsters.
Oh, that's right.
With Jeremy Wade.
That's right. I remember.
He was doing a compilation of the greatest quote-unquote river monsters, to stick with the theme of the show. Obviously, a lot of them were ocean
Yeah, I was
dwellers.
gonna say, that's not really. What kind of river is that? I mean, I guess you could call the Great American Interway Sea a river, but even then, that was after Leedsichthys.
Yes.
And then it's not. That's as much of a river as the Mediterranean Sea is. So.
But nonetheless, it featured there, and I actually admit I've been binge watching that a lot too.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you find if they talks about any creatures you'd like to maybe discuss on this podcast.
Well, there is one that managed to outlive the dinosaurs and still lives in the Amazon today.
Oh.
Called the Arapaima.
What's that?
Oh, it is quite the living torpedo.
Oh, I think I've actually heard of this one. If it's alive today, though, it doesn't count for paleobites. Sorry.
You know,
Yeah.
though, its ancestors outlived the dinosaurs, and
Yeah.
it has modern descendants.
Okay, if it has a prehistoric version that's not alive
it
today,
does.
then that can count. I'll take that. Okay. But so Leedsichthys is probably the most impressive example of a non-reptile marine creature in the Mesozoic, as it was a big fish in a sea dominated by marine reptiles, big and small. Of course, most of the time when you imagine big fish, you're probably thinking of cartilaginous ones, such as sharks. Today, the biggest fish is the whale shark, while in prehistoric times, you got ones like Megalodon running the show. However, Leedsichthys was actually a bony fish and was, in fact, the biggest bony fish of all time.
Which, in and of itself, is actually quite impressive, because there are limits on bony fish that there aren't as much on cartilaginous fish.
Yes, exactly. Like, today, the biggest bony fish is the ocean sunfish, which is a weird-ass fish if there ever was one.
And believe it or not, they based a Pokemon on it.
I can believe that. I think I actually know. I've seen pictures of that Pokemon. I could not tell you for the life of you what its name is.
Alomomoa.
Oh, right on the tip of my tongue.
Photographic memory.
Yeah, cool. Cool. There's only certain Pokemon I know. I know Pikachu, I know Charizard, as well as all the famous ones like, those. I also know Skygon or Flygon.
Flygon.
Flygon. I don't even know that one, so I didn't get it right the first time.
But that's its... Pokemon's weird. Even with its fossil Pokemon.
Isn't there one that's just a bunch of dangling keys on a keychain?
Yes, that is Klefki. It is a fairy type.
Yeah. What's its powers? It jingles, when you
It's
lost
known
when
to
you
be
don't know
quite
when you need
mischievous.
It gets lost when you don't know where it is and you need
It
it
collects
the most.
lost keys.
Oh, okay.
That's part of its shtick.
Okay, there we go. At least they're aware of that.
It's a mischievous fairy type.
Starts cars.
No, it'll most likely steal your car keys.
That's true. But so, as for how big Leedsichthys could get, there's been a lot of varied estimates over the years, and there hasn't been a preserved vertebral column discovered as of yet. But by comparing its gill basket, which was quite large, to some of its smaller relatives like Asthenocormus, some earlier estimates were as high as 91 feet or 27 meters long. Some popular science publications ran with these larger estimates and sometimes even further exaggerated them, sometimes giving sizes upwards of 115 feet / 35 meters long.
Which would put it on par with the great whales, which as far as we know, the great whales are the largest bony creatures to ever exist.
The largest creatures in general to exist. Like the blue whale, a modern creature, which I think is really cool, is the largest animal ever. So That's pretty cool. What an absolute behemoth this thing must have been, right?
Well, it still would have been an amazing animal to witness in the water.
But it wasn't this big, though. Of course it was enormous, but it wasn't that enormous. Due to the square cube law, the mass of something increases exponentially as its size grows, and the more the animal weighs, the more energy it requires, and the more energy an animal acquires, the more oxygen it needs to function. Therefore, the gill caskets would get much bigger relative to its size, the bigger overall it got. So comparing its gill gasket to smaller relatives to determine its size is a flawed approach. Currently, the consensus is that Leedsichthys was 46 to 59 feet / 14 to 18 meters long, an impressive animal, but nothing too outlandish. In fact, if it were to get much bigger, the gill crests would reach a point where there wouldn't be enough room in the body of the animal for them to be large enough to provide enough oxygen.
That's really no surprise. I mean, look at the size of the gills on, say, a basking shark.
Yeah,
they're obvious when this thing's mouth is open.
Yeah, exactly. And they're basically cover the entire side of it.
And and in sharks, they're crazy flexible.
Right, exactly. But yeah, see, that's the thing, they're cartilaginous, so they can be that flexible. For this one, it wouldn't be.
Bony fish, there's going to be some serious limits because the jaw, as far as we know, opened and closed on the Leedsichthys.
Yeah, so because of these limits for how big the gills are, there's a clear limit on how big a water-breathing animal can get. And this is why whales can get so much bigger. They breathe air, which is much easier to intake oxygen from than water. They just take a big gulp, and then that's it.
Yep. Gulp, hold it for
hours at a time.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah. So Leedsichthys might have been the biggest bony fish of all time and a true giant amongst the sea of reptiles, but blue whale-sized it was not.
No. It would have had to have become an air breather at that point.
Yeah, in which case it's already well on its way to becoming an amphibian. And can you imagine that thing crawling out of the water like the old amphibians, like the early fish becoming amphibians?
Would have had to be smaller for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say a 60-foot thing, just like bloop bloop bloop, and everyone on the land just like, what is that? What's going on? This thing is too big. It shouldn't be possible.
Like a whale, it would be crushed under its own weight.
Yes,
coming
it
on
would.
The land.
Sad day. Sad day.
Indeed.
Fun thing to end on, though. Their species name is Problematicus.
Well, I mean, given that we haven't found a vertebra column.
It's just Leedsichthys Problematicus. Why? Is it because it told racist jokes?
Oh, just the fact that it existed?
I guess that's true. Well, in that case, that should be Platypus is Problematicus.
I'm sure the Aussies have some very creative words.
I think the genus
platypus.
name of the platypus is Ornithorhynchus, which is funny because platypus, the name platypus on itself is also Latin or Greek. It means flat foot. So why is there another Greek, Ornithorhynchus, which means bird jaw? Why is there another one? It's called platypus. I don't know, but anyways, Ornithorhynchus problematicus. That should be the name of the platypus.
Yes, particularly the male platypus.
The one with the poison spur.
Venom.
Where it hurts so bad. Like, if you get stung by it, you're not gonna die, but you're gonna wish you die because it's like
because every other thing in Australia wants to kill you.
It's true. It's very, very true.
Who knows if there were venomous dinosaurs down there?
Well, according to Jurassic Park, Dilophosaurus is poisonous, but that's not a thing. Yeah, man. Anyways, all right. Well, that's it for this week. Oh wait, no, we forgot the most important part of the show. We forgot everyone's favorite part of the show.
Oh, what are we gonna rate this creature?
Yeah, everyone's telling me this is their favorite part of the show. I'm not just saying that. Yeah, we rate the ML1 out of 65 million. Let's see. I don't know. It's pretty good. 60 million. It's pretty.
Let's
cool.
go with 60 million. It was an impressive fish.
It was.
It would have been impressive to see.
Especially like a whole school of them, probably like several dozen, like swimming in the open ocean, filled like a pot of whales do now. It's just.
Well, some whales.
Some whales, yeah. I guess
you
some
do
of them...
see that behavior with basking sharks. They will swim in a line and swim through a
cloud of
really
krill
good
or
spot.
Just be like, la. It's probably easier for a water-breathing animal to filter feed because that way the air-breathing one. It doesn't have to deal with all the salt water just in its mouth. Ugh, salt water's disgusting. Anyways, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at mattd@matthewdoncareer.com for any general questions to me or any of the co-hosts. I can relay questions to any of them. You can find me on social media at MatthewDonCreator on Facebook, at MatthewDon64 on Twitter, and MatthewDon64 on Instagram. If you want to support me on Patreon, I'm at patreon.com/MatthewDonald. That's pretty good. We talk about some pop culture feature prehistoric animals. And when we run out of that, I will, which, will be never, but, when we run out of that, I guess we'll talk about other things about dinosaurs. We'll see what happens when it comes. I also have a book series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. Dinosaur sci-fi, pew pew, roar. I made that joke last time. There is, I think I mentioned the Leedsichthys once in it as like a comparison. Like, there's a small minnow in a pond full of Leedsichthys or something is what I forget. I know my own books. I also have another podcast called The Rit Wit, where two twits talk about writting. Me and another guy, Matt David, great guy, great friend. Good guy. Nah, he's all right. But also, I forgot to mention this last time. If you could rate us on Apple Podcasts, that'd be great. The more, the merrier. 5 stars if you think we deserve it. Help that algorithm going. Isn't that great? Great. Also, I forgot. Natasha here did the illustrations for my books, Megazoic. So you had fun with that, right?
I did have fun with that.
Yeah, it was good stuff. All right. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see you at the end of every episode of Paleo Bites. Glub, 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 bloop, 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 bloop. Racist joke. Ah, how problematic of you.